Okay, so I want that. Okay. Now, let's see, view. How's that?
That's good.
Okay. Okay.
I tell you what, people have gotten a lot better at their webinar attendance because until last year, half the comments or questions you would get during a webinar were, I can't hear, I can't see.
Okay.
What's wrong? It's clicking on me or whining on me or whatever.
Right.
It's about March of last year.
So funny.
Nope. Nobody has any more problems.
Nope.
Everybody knows how to do it now. So.
Good to go. Good to go.
Just want to say hi, Mac. I'm here.
Okay, hi. All right. Sarah, you should ask your question of the audience again.
Yes. Okay. Good. Welcome, everyone that's here. So glad to see you. We're going to start in just 2 minutes. But if you are here, we'd love to hear your name. Why don't you come on over to the chat and introduce yourself. Tell us your name, your organization, and one thing that is bringing you joy today. Something that's bringing a smile to your face. We'd love to hear from you. We can share a little bit via chat as we get started. Since we are live and we're here for you, love to know that you're here as well.
You get to see how awake the audience is.
Right.
All right, we're starting about 1 minute.
Great. I'm excited. I love this topic.
Good.
Topic that brings me joy.
So Brian in Tacoma says the sun is out today, so he's quite happy about that.
Oh, nice.
It's amazing when it's cloudy for a couple of days. If the sun just comes out, you're just like, all right, it's going to be a good day.
Yep.
All right, I got the top of the hour on my machine. So I'm going to go ahead and start. And let me get this over here. All right, good morning and afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are. I'd like to welcome everyone to our Leading a High Performance Team webinar today. My name is Max Smith. I'm the Director of Communications for 501c Services. So many of you all already know, we're a 100% employee-owned company, and we provide full-service unemployment outsourcing programs and other services to more than 3,000 nonprofits around the world. Our programs include the 501c Agencies Trust, which offers a comprehensive suite of risk management services and tax avoidance solutions for our 501c3 nonprofit members. We also offer 501c HR Services, which is a confidential HR resource that allows nonprofit organizations to walk through difficult personnel issues. Actually, many of you joining us today already work with us, and of course, we always thank you for doing that. Now, real quick, I'll get some housekeeping out of the way before I introduce Claire. We have our traditional questions that everybody's going to ask. Please ask questions as you go. So if Claire is talking about puppies and you have a puppy question pop into your head, please ask your puppy question. Claire is going to stop periodically throughout the program and we'll answer questions as we go. And then, of course, at the end, she will answer questions. Many of you are here today for HRCI or SHRM credit. This is worth 1 credit hour. You all know the drill. You fill out the post-event survey, and then we will send that credit to you as soon as possible. We usually get that done in about 24 hours. So that survey pops up as soon as we're done here today, and it also will be in the post-event email. Also, Claire has provided a copy of the PowerPoint presentation she's going to go over today. I will email that to everybody right after the program, so you'll get it later today. So those are usually the 3 questions I get. Having said that, we do have an event coming up at the end of next month. I don't have the exact dates yet because it's multiple dates. We're going to be talking, we're going to have a youth services summit talking about to those organizations who deal with children, whether you have to hire people to run camps or you have to deal with traumatized audiences and whatnot. We will be having a multiple day summit in about a month, and I will have more details for that for everybody coming up. Now, having covered everything, I can now hand this off to Miss Claire. She is actually one of the favorite trainers of our staff. We often say we love Claire. You'll hear that a lot around our office. And she is a dynamic and engaging trainer who helps organizations become more engaged in high energy workplaces. Good morning, ma'am. How are you?
I am well. Thank you so much. Are we ready? Shall I take the screen?
Yep, I'm sending it to you.
Okay. Okay. There we go. How are we?
And it's loading.
Oh, okay. Give it a minute.
I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're good. Can you? Yeah.
Good.
You can go ahead and start.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for being here. Today, we are going to talk about leading a high-performing team. One of my absolute favorite topics, because as Max said, I love helping organizations become what I call happy, high-energy workplaces. So we're going to talk about leading a high-performing team because that's one of the ways we get there. First, just a tiny bit about me. I'm a consultant and trainer. As Max said, I specialize in leadership development and creating happy and high-performing, high-energy workplaces. And through my company, I provide a lot of virtual, online, and hybrid training programs to help teams thrive. Some of my programs include what I call the LX Evolve Leadership Transformation course. That's what the LX is for. LX Evolve Leadership Transformation course online. Building a high trust workplace, which is awesome for teams that want to sustain high trust or build trust, coaching for excellence. And our new program coming out soon is called Be a Service Hero. So that's a little about me, but let's get into what is a high performing team. It's really, really important.
Actually, Claire, let me interrupt you. I can't see your slides.
Uh-oh, okay.
So,
let's see. Show, okay.
there they are.
Got it? Okay. All right, you seeing what is a high-performing team?
Yes, ma'am. I think you're good to go now.
Good. Okay, I'm sorry about that delay, folks. You didn't miss much, just my words. You can see it in the materials that Max sends out later. So let's talk about what is a high-performing team, because honestly, I feel like this is sort of a buzzword. Like, people, I want a high-performing team, which, would be great. But let's get down to the nitty-gritty and talk about what that is. A high-performing team, based on the Society for Human Resource Management, SHRM, says that a high-performing team is a group of goal-focused individuals with specialized expertise and complementary skills who collaborate, innovate, and produce consistently superior results. And I love that part, to think about how a team of people can come together, and by the way that they work and the way that they are led, they can really build this collaborative environment. They can innovate, they can change things of their own accord, and they can provide and produce consistently superior results. I think that a high-performing team, now I've spent a lot of years working with teams. I will say I've got a good 25 plus years of consulting experience out in many, many workplaces, teaching lots of different aspects of leadership and teamwork and communication, and helping organizations shift their culture. And ultimately, I think about these 5 things being the primary contributors to a high-performing team. A high-performing team is purpose-driven. They have a purpose, they know what it is, they're in pursuit of a clear purpose. When we are in pursuit of a clear purpose, one of the things that happens is that we can lower the drama level. So that's interesting. A high-performing team communicates openly and cultivates a positive team culture. A high-performing team demonstrates ownership and fosters accountability. These are things that a lot of leaders struggle with. And if you are one of those leaders that struggles with ownership and accountability, I'm so glad you're here. By all means, you can head on over to the chat and let me know if that's something that you struggle with, any of these really. But here's something that's a little unique and different. I think that a high-performing team uses process to do better and to be better. And that means cultivating the right habits as a team so that you're practicing the right skills over and over and over again. You're practicing the right things. And finally, a high-performing team gets breakthrough results. And that's not an accident. A high-performing team does that very much on purpose. Said differently, I like to think of a high-performing team as a group of people with diverse skills and talents, working dynamically together to accomplish more than the sum of the parts. So in this session, what we're going to answer why is leading a high-performing team so important? What will it do for you? Okay, we're going to answer what 5 dimensions should you be evaluating to ensure your team is on the road to higher performance. And let me say that this road to high performance is generally a road that we have to keep coming back to. We have to keep revisiting because we're doing great for a little while and then we can get off track. And so we got to come on back and keep recalibrating to that high performance goal. And we're going to answer also what specific actions can you take immediately to get better results. So there are lots of ways to get to a really high performing team. I'm going to drill down to 5 powerful actions, one in each of those areas that is going to take you further. Okay, so that's my job today. My hope is that as a result of our workshop today, you will be inspired to build a high-performing team, that you'll want that for yourself, not just because it's good for you, but because it's good for you and the team and for your organization. So that's what we're all about today. So let's get down to that question number 1. Why? Why is leading a high-performing team so important? SHRM Toolkits tells us that the high-performance work teams are essential to the way most organizations organize and carry out their work, resulting in superior performance. And here's the most important part, folks, and that translates into a significant competitive advantage. This is not new news anymore. This is not something that I think is a secret anymore. We know that culture is important. And what I like to look at is a team level of culture. I feel like the team is a unit of people, kind of a unit size that's easy to work with, where you can see change quickly. So that's one of the reasons I like to work there at the team level. Also, leading a high-performing team is important. Harvard Business Review tells us that it's because companies need to consider the full breadth of their employees' needs as people. We need to meet people where they are, where safety is essential, of course, but it's also important to address those higher level needs. This is your people. This is how they show up. This is what they need, right? They need truth, stability, authentic connections with one another, self-esteem, growth, and meaning. Okay, now this was from May 2020. This is about leading your team into a post-pandemic world for sure. I don't think we're out of the woods on that one yet. In fact, this next wave that we see of people going back to work has a lot of upside, but it also can bring kind of a new level of uncertainty. So we'll address that in a little bit. So this is leading a high-performing team is important for your team performance, of course, for your organizational outcomes, absolutely. But this shows us also that leading a high-performing team is important because you want to meet the needs of each of those individuals. There's a real human connection part of this, that when it is when it's present, a high-performing team can achieve so much. So my clients also report, CLC is Claire Laughlin Consulting. My clients also tell me that right now, leaders are asked to do more with fewer resources. I don't know if that's true for you or not, but if you can imagine a world in which resources diminish at times, you know that you need to be able to turn to the people on your team and look to them for the support needed to keep keep moving, keep going forward, and to get even better results. So leaders are telling me a lot that they're being asked to do a lot with fewer resources, that budgets are shrinking, that there's increased pressure to perform. And of course, we all know that there are very high costs for turnover. So we want to make sure that we're not creating the conditions where people are looking for reasons to leave, okay? Finally, there's actually quite a bit of competition even in our economy right now. The competition, especially for some of our younger workers or millennial workers, comes from other agencies or industries that have developed positive cultures. People are less and less willing to stay put in a culture that's not, that doesn't help them thrive on a personal level. So we want to pay attention to these things. And leadership is a really important part of the picture, because leaders can really shift and create the culture. So that is why it's so important. So what I want you to do right now, if you would, is get your hands on your keyboard. And Mac, I'll ask you to watch the chat. I want you to think about a time, any time in your history that you can remember being part of a high-performing team. Some people have told me stories to way back when, you know, summer camp, summer camp when I was a kid, or sports camp, or an early job, or even just a recent experience. Any experience counts. But if you think about a time when you were part of a high-performing team, tell me in the chat, what feelings did you have? What feelings came out of that experience for you? And what was the impact on you? And so, Mac, while you watch the chat there for a minute, I'll just say a little bit more about this, and I'd love to know if anybody is willing to respond. What feelings did you have from this high-performing team, and what was the impact? So much of this is about, like, these situations elicit in us feelings of being connected, meaning, importance, fulfillment, satisfaction. And the impact is often increased confidence, being able to do things that we didn't know we had in us, you know, being able to achieve and excel at a level that was previously unknown to us. So maybe some of you have had some of those situations. Mac, are you seeing anything coming in there on the chat yet?
Yes, we do. We have some answers, and I appreciate everybody for participating. Angela said she felt a great pride in working with a team at one time, and spurred her to do more.
Okay.
Morgan said had a feeling of belonging.
Nice.
Brooke talked about being heard, like what she was doing was making a difference and had impact.
Yeah. These are the things we want. These are the things we want, right? I mean, especially right now, we're really thinking about this stuff. I hope everyone's thinking about it, about how to create a culture of belonging, right? How to create a culture where your people feel heard and seen and understood, and where we are providing a sense of meaning and fulfillment for people. This is operation at a higher level. That's what happens when you create these high-performing teams, is that people are able to give of themselves and then receive those intrinsic rewards that are such a deep part of ownership and accountability. So I hope you'll see how this all comes together into one sort of cohesive picture. But those team relationships that we build and the team commitments that we build are the foundation for all this other good stuff, all these other good performance outcomes coming out at the end. So this is what so many people do report, just like we heard from our audience here, right? The feelings that we have are about being seen and heard and understood and belonging. And the impact is wanting to do more, feeling like I'm contributing, giving of myself. And those are good things. We love that. So let me say, from my perspective, your team is the answer. So I like to think of, again, a team being the close unit of people that you work with to try to get a project done or an activity completed, the people you most readily rely on. So think about drawing a boundary there around that level of team. And then think, as we go through these 5 layers, think about how each of them might apply to that team level in your organization, okay? Oh, by the way, you can assess yourself. I hope you will. To assess these 5 levels specifically, if you go to the link that's on the screen, and Mac's going to go ahead and put that in the chat as well, so you can click it. But it's at clairelaughlin.com/assess-your-team, and right there you can go and get this free leadership assessment and report, and learn specifically where you should focus out of these 5 areas we're about to cover, and get some very practical tools and advice to help you strengthen your team. So more detail than we're going to cover today. And so I hope that's helpful for you. Welcome you. I invite you to go there and check it out. Okay, so let's talk about how any team or how your team can perform better. There are 5 dimensions we're going to look at. To help your team thrive, I want you to examine purpose. I want your folks to say, our purpose drives us, okay? I want you and your team to say, our purpose drives us. The second area is communication and culture, really. I want you to be able to feel, we trust one another. I belong here. The third area is called ownership, and that's really that sense that we are all accountable. I own my work. I have a stake in this. It matters whether I do a good job. It matters whether I finish. It matters whether I serve my team and our customers and clients. The fourth area is process, and that's where people can look and say, yeah, we have habits that serve us. And if we have habits that don't serve us, we can change those habits. And then number 5 is results. We get it done, and we get it done together. So those are the 5 things we're going to look at pretty briefly here. Number 1, purpose. I don't know why I love this picture. I guess it's because it's something I aspire to. I want to be able to live out my purpose on a mountaintop. But Michael Hyatt, who's a rather famous author, and he's also a kind of a productivity type person and a coach. He says, focus on your why and you won't lose your way. And I always like to think about that, because when I do lose my way, I always turn around and focus on my why. The power of purpose is very, very strong. When you share your leadership why, when you share your why or your purpose at a team level, or even at a personal level, that is really the essence of leadership. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. But making sure that you know that you're in it for a reason is important. Ultimately, and you all know this, think about this for a minute. We might comply, right? We comply with people who are designated leaders. Often, most of us follow the rules, to say. But we willingly follow people who inspire us. And we get inspired when somebody can connect to our shared values and to our purpose. And so ultimately, I don't know about you, I want a team of people that are going to willingly follow me. I don't want a team of people who simply comply. So I want to make sure that I'm doing my job of sharing my purpose readily, often, so that so I get a team of people who willingly follow, not just comply, right? So go to the chat and tell me, would you prefer, actually tell me this, if you agree with this statement, go to the chat and say, I want willing followers. I want willing followers. Go ahead and put that in the chat. I'd love to see how we're doing with that. I'd love to see you just owning that. I want willing followers. And to do that, we're going to talk about how to share your purpose. Jim Kouzes and Barry Posner are the authors of a whole set of books and an entire system called the Leadership Challenge. If you're not familiar with the Leadership Challenge, I highly recommend it. I'm a trained facilitator of the Leadership Challenge. It's got a wonderful assessment that goes with it. And it's just a really strong 35-year-old globally tested system of leadership. But Jim and Barry, they say that leadership is the art of mobilizing others to want to struggle for shared aspirations. And that always sticks with me because this is the difference between compliance and willing followers, right? I want other people to be thinking about and wanting to complete the work that our team is supposed to complete. I want people to be invested, engaged. We know engagement is such a driver for success. And that's what real leadership is. It's the art of mobilizing others to want to struggle for shared aspirations. So that's important. Just from a leadership perspective, sharing a purpose helps you do this. But there's more than that. The search for meaning supports resilience. If we want to be resilient, and if we want our teams and our people to be resilient, again, just think about how much change and turmoil we've been through in the past year and more to come. If we want our folks to be resilient, we need to provide the context of meaning and purpose. It's really, really important. Help them be resilient. That's from Harvard Business Review, a very recent article called How Resilience Works. So let me give you a tool here when you think about purpose. There's a lot of ways to refine this, but something really straightforward. Start by finding and articulating your why. So what I've done in the past when I've been trying to get in touch with my why, I just start saying, what am I here to contribute? Okay, the format for this could be to, and then what my contribution is, so that I make this impact, right? So brainstorm, what is my contribution to the world? What am I uniquely suited to contribute? What is my team uniquely suited to contribute? And then I want you to take it further, and I want you to think about the impact that that makes. So that what? So that people can thrive, so that we can serve others, so that our organization gets the greatest results. What is the impact? That impact statement, I don't want you to hold back with that. I want you to go for it. I want you to imagine that the work you do is the most important work ever, okay? And write it out like that. Push the boundaries. Make sure that you are finding that internal inspiration that goes with your why statement, because that's where the real deep meaning lives. And I promise you, most people underplay the contribution that they can make and the impact that it has. I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to downplay it. I want you to get in touch with the power and the inspiration that lives there in that sense of why. Okay, so I want you to make it meaningful and memorable, push the limits. And I just put mine here again. So again, I always say my job is to support leaders in creating happy, highly productive workplaces so that they can enjoy their lives and have a better experience of work. And I take it even further sometimes, and I think, because no one should have to suffer in a blah workplace. I mean, that's just my language, but really, I want people to feel energized about their work. I want them to wake up in the morning happy to do what they're going to be doing. And so I think about this, and I promise you, this drives me. I think about it every single day. And I especially think about it when things get hard or when I'm struggling to perform, okay? So that why statement is really, really important. I'm just going to give you a couple more examples, and then I want you to have this in the back of your mind. I want you to be thinking about what your why statement might be, because I'm going to ask you to put it in the chat in just a minute. But let me give you a couple more examples. Here's one a friend of mine wrote. She said, my why is to teach timely, proven tools to people so that they can be happier and have a positive impact at work. That's one of my colleagues. Another one. One of my clients and one of my trainees and one of my programs said, to do my best at a stable job so that I can provide a good life for myself and for my family. And I love that. I think that was really compelling for him. Simon Sinek, he's sort of somebody that you might associate with why. He wrote a great book called Start With Why. And he says that his why is to empower and educate people everywhere so that they can improve their lives and achieve their goals. Very noble. And Airbnb, I don't know why I picked this one up, but I've been looking at Airbnbs lately. And they say to connect millions of people in real life all over the world through a community marketplace so that you can belong anywhere. Okay, so you can find these why statements out in the world, and great organizations have these really compelling why statements that bring them forth. So I hope we've got some why statements already populating the chat. Let's see, Mac, do we have anybody brave enough to write or try out a why statement? You can just give it a shot, by the way, folks. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, you'll go through many, many iterations probably before you really hit something that really speaks to you. But let me ask, Mac, do we have anything?
Sure. We have brave souls on this webinar.
Yay, excellent. Can you read a couple?
Yes,
Yeah.
so we'll start with Helen because she obviously types the quickest.
Okay.
To attract and retain top talent so that families and children in my community become financially secure.
Oh, that's good, Helen. Gives me chills. I like it. Like tingles. Good. Give me another one.
Brooke, to remove obstacles so that employees can do their best.
Great. I love that. I'm literally getting a visual of that, Brooke. I love it. Okay.
Heather, to grow myself as a person so that I am able to make a bigger impact within my community and personal life.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you, Heather. Thank you for that. These are great, you guys. And so just curious, like I want you to be thinking about this, and I'd love to hear it from the chat if you're willing, but how does it feel to write your why? What does it feel like when you start playing with those words and you start getting clear on that contribution and the impact that you can make? What comes up for you there? Anybody willing to chat about that? See, I know I have to pause there because people might not be ready. Some of our fast typers.
Helen is a very quick typer.
Oh,
She's
good.
120 word per minute person. She's empowering.
Good. Nice, Helen. I love it. You know, it is empowering, and I have found it incredibly empowering for me in my business. But it's magical what happens as you start to put this into play and bring this language into your team meetings and into your teamwork. Really can be powerful. So the process here is to get kind of like to play with your why and to get some practice there, and then bring it to your team. Let your team play with the why. Build a team's why statement. You could build a project why statement, and then publicize that. Put it up on your whiteboard. Write it at the top of your meeting agendas if you're doing a project meeting. Put it on a slide and bring it into your conversations with your team. That why should infuse what you do. It'll keep you focused, it'll keep you energized, and it'll provide a context for everything that you do.
Claire,
So,
quick question.
Yeah.
One of our attendees wanted to know, what if their current situation isn't inspiring enough for them to create a why?
Yeah, I know. Okay. That's a great question, actually. That is a fantastic question. In doing a lot of work with people about their why statement, here's what it comes down to. Sometimes we've lost our inspiration, and it's up to us to find it again. I guess if I were to boil it down, I would say that. So either, and it has gone both ways in people I've worked with in the past and consulted on this issue of sometimes the why really isn't there for them personally. And if that's the case, there might be some hard choices that need to be made. But sometimes the why is hidden. So like in our example why, I had somebody who wasn't very inspired in his work at all, but his why turned out to be, he said, when he got down to it, he said, my why is to provide a good life for my family. And this job allows me to do it. So instead of focusing, let's say, on how the job wasn't providing enough meaning and motivation for him, he started thinking about what the job was giving him. And it was giving him a means to an end, an important end for his family. So that became his why. So sometimes it just becomes really personal. Sometimes it drives you to consider choices that you might need to make. And I'm not here to say anything about that, but the thing is that the why comes from inside. And And it's not usually, I mean, a lot of times it's lucky. We're lucky when that why is mirrored from the outside. But first we got to start with what our why is, and then we have to look at how we can make that outside circumstance help us achieve it. Does that make sense? Hope that makes sense. And of course, let me say to all of you right now, I invite you to reach out to me anytime if you want to chat more about this stuff. You can certainly email me and we can have a little offline conversation. You can reach me at claire@clairelaughlin.com. So send me an email and we can talk more about it, because I love to help people come up with their why. Okay, so let's move on to number 2, and that's communication. And I think of communication being the fabric of a good culture. Oprah Winfrey says great communication begins with connection. I was watching this thing that Oprah was doing about just talking about what she felt catapulted her into such fame as an interviewer. And we know this about her. She's very connected. You can watch her and you can see her authentic connection with others. But this is no different than it is for you at work. We can talk all about the communication skills that people need and, you know, how to give good feedback and this and that and the other thing. Those things are all important, but none of them is a substitute for caring and connection. None. So when I talk about communication, it rests on a foundation of caring and connection. And that caring and connection creates culture. Okay, so that's what we want to bring together. Quality communication is the source of trust in an organization. It is the source, okay? It is the source of collaboration and inclusion and connection. All of those things are true when you have good quality communication habits. And good quality communication makes many things possible, including better decisions. I cannot stress that enough. If you're struggling with the quality of your decisions, we can trace that back to, in a sense, people's sense of connection and trust and communication and their process, by the way. But it makes possible innovation and appropriate risk. It makes possible much higher levels of engagement and, of course, learning and growth, which every organization needs right now, because we have to innovate and we have to do it quickly. So learning and growth. We know that trust, by the way, is also the foundation of a successful team. This is an adaptation of a pyramid that's given to us by Patrick Lencioni and the Table Group. Patrick Lencioni wrote a great book, many of you probably know it, called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And I have just sort of flipped this around to being the 5 kind of levels of team success, which Lencioni's group also does. But trust is at the bottom because it's the foundation. It allows effective conflict. It supports commitment. It creates accountability, and it helps us get results. So know that that trust level is something I've spent a huge amount of time working with organizations on, and have an online course and a coaching program that helps get at the heart of trust. There's a lot, I love trust. There's a lot to say about trust, but know that your communication skills are key, okay? Trust is built there through effective communication. And folks, I mean, we've been through a rough patch. In many organizations, trust has been strengthened through the challenges we've been through in the past year, but in others, trust is at risk, and it continues to be as we're going to go through this next phase of uncertainty as people come back to work. You may or may not know this, but virtual teammates, when you're virtual with people, virtual teammates are 2.5 times more likely to perceive mistrust, incompetence, and broken commitments. And that's not good. Okay? They're more likely to perceive that because of the distance and the separation that we have. And worse yet, they report taking 5 to 10 times longer to address their concerns. So things will fester, and we do not want that, okay? The bottom line is that this creates a situation where there are more problems because people are perceiving more problems, and they're less likely to be addressed, which is a serious threat to trust. Okay, today's environment as well I like to think of it sort of like a toxic cocktail. We don't want that. But if you consider the idea that we've got this sort of uncertainty ahead, we've got a lot of change, it can bring up fear for people. There's stress in our environment. All of that together equals the potential for people having a very short fuse, okay? People being reactive, having negative interpretations of others, being narrow-minded, and being self-protected and defensive. Those things right there, the reactivity, the self-protection, the defensiveness, the narrow-mindedness, those are the things that derail and undermine trust. Trust is the foundation. So we want to make sure that we're not doing that. All of these are negative communication patterns, and all of them undermine our ability to perform. They take our focus away from performance, and they put our focus on drama and blame and who's right and gossip and the meeting after the meeting and all these sort of very negative patterns in an organization all come down to those communication patterns. So to do better, here's a little bit of advice, if I may. One, model the way. Work on your own listening skills. Work on being curious. Work on being a trust builder, okay? Work on being a trust builder. The number one thing I say in my trust class is don't worry so much about other people. Worry about being trustworthy yourself. Build your own ability to be trustworthy. And if you do that first, the rest will be much easier. If we don't do that first and we go around and we look at everybody else and we tell everybody else how they need to be more trustworthy, it's going to be a long road. So model the way. And then my other advice here is to build a set of communication standards with your team. Do not leave this to chance. These are things that very few teams talk about. If your team talks about them, I'm going to give you a big round of applause right now. I hope you are, I hope you do, I hope you will, okay? Think about the communication standards that you want for your team. Bring your team together and ask them, how should we communicate with one another? What should we do? What should we not do when it comes to creating a great, warm, connected team? As a leader, I want you to address and eradicate poor and disrespectful and unprofessional communication right away. It's one of the places, by the way, where leaders fall a little bit short sometimes, but it's kind of a big deal. We want our leaders to protect us, and that means protecting us from other people's bad behavior. So there's a little something happening there in some teams. I want you as a leader to insist on healthy team-oriented communication, to bring it up, to bring it into focus, to help people learn how, and to insist that it happens and make it a goal like any other goal. Okay. Now, let's go on to number 3, ownership and accountability. I just want to make sure I hit on all 5 before we conclude our time together today. But the third aspect that I really want you to measure and think about is creating and fostering ownership and accountability on the part of your team members. What a relief, right? If people really take ownership over their work, what a relief that is for us as leaders. I want you to know that accountability is a tough one. 18%, if you can believe that, 18%. Now, this is from the Predictive Index in 2019, their benchmark report, but 18% of top executives saying that holding others accountable is their greatest weakness. That's hard. I know it's hard for me. If it's hard for you, I want you to go over to the chat and go ahead and give me a shout out. Tell me, yes, accountability is hard for me. Let me know if it is. And by the way, if it isn't, say, I've got accountability down. I'd love to hear that in the chat as well, okay? Tell me about you and accountability. But 18% of top executives say that holding others accountable is their greatest weakness. And poor performance can consume up to 17% of a leader's job. I hope that's not the case for you, but think about that. That's almost 1 full day out of every single week. That's a lot of time. We don't want to be managing poor performance like that. We want people to manage themselves, to hold themselves to a high standard, and to know that ownership and accountability is their job. So accountability is hard. We're not going to sugarcoat it. It's true. It's also very necessary for learning. I don't know if any of you have read Dr. Amy Edmondson's book, Teaming, or she's got another one called The Fearless Organization. Wonderful books. I really like reading her work. She said that real learning occurs on teams that have both, that balance a high level of safety and a high degree of accountability. So let's take a look. When there's a high level of safety, but accountability is low, you can see how in this graph on the screen, this comfort zone lands in the low end of accountability. If they're safe, but accountability is low, they're comfortable. Comfort's not a bad thing, but it's not primary for a high performing team. We want people to have comfort, but let me show you more. Let's say the opposite of this. In some organizations, maybe some of you know this or have been in these, accountability is very, very high. People are held accountable, but there's not enough safety. And if that's the case, that produces a lot of anxiety. You don't want that. Down here in this low safety, low accountability zone, apathy. I don't feel safe and I don't feel accountable, or I don't feel other people are accountable. Apathy. We detract, we pull back from our work. We don't give it our all. We become apathetic. What we want is a balance. We want people to be safe and accountable, because that creates clarity, clear expectations, and that's what we want. That's the learning zone. That's where people can be safe to make mistakes, but they're expected to learn from those mistakes, because that's the accountability layer, right? And as a team, safe to make mistakes, safe to learn from what we've done, both the good and the not so good, and to put that into practice. So we want to move our organizations into this learning zone where accountability is high, but people also feel safe and connected. Really, really important. As a way of doing this, I recommend using a coaching style of leadership, okay? A coach really ultimately brings out the best in their people by helping people find the best in themselves, okay? So coaching, it spurs learning, it creates an exchange of ideas, it builds rapport, it's really a unique kind of a relationship, and it fuels innovation and performance improvement. All these things are good things, right? We want all of this. And when I define workplace coaching, this is it. It's a deliberate process. We're deliberate about coaching. We want to coach our folks. It's an ongoing helping process, and it's intended to enable success, to inspire change, and promote transformation, not short-term change that we have to do over and over and over again, but transformational change where people really do learn and grow together. It involves listening, being very curious, setting goals, and identifying the support and resources necessary to achieve those goals, and regular follow-up, okay? So in a coaching cycle, oh, we were gonna take a poll, yes. Mac, how are we? Can we do our poll right now?
We can.
That'd be great.
I hope everybody's ready.
Let's do a quick poll. I want to know from you about a couple of questions. Mac is going to put these up on the screen. Where are they? Okay. Poll. Okay. Where's the question? I'm not seeing the question.
I'm sorry.
Here.
I'll read it out loud since you can't see it.
Please.
The first
Thank
question is, have you ever had a great mentor or coach?
Okay, great. Yes. Oh, good. I can see the percentages and I love it. Okay, really happy to see 82% are saying yes. Only 18% are saying no. I wish it was 100, but we want to collectively, let's work on that together. Wouldn't it be great if 100% of the people who report to you would say that they are coaching managers? Let's do the next poll. Okay, the next question is,
do you consider yourself a coaching manager?
Okay, there we go. Do you consider yourself a coaching manager? Yes or no? Okay, again, good. We're seeing some good high percentages here. 80% yes, right around 80%, 23% no right now. Okay. Okay. So stepping into the role of being a coaching manager is really important. Let's do our one last poll. Mac, tell me what that is.
And the last question is, have you ever gotten training or feedback on your coaching skills?
Okay, great. Because a lot of us want to be a coaching manager, but maybe we haven't really gotten support for that. And as someone who does I do a lot of training about coaching skills in the workplace. And here's one thing I'm just going to say out loud. I hope it's okay with you. Some people are really magnificent and natural coaches, but other folks are thinking that they're coaches, but they're not quite using the curiosity skills that they could be using to bring out the best in others. So where are we there? Okay, so 51% have gotten some training. Okay, that's higher than normal, by the way. That's good. There's a lot of good books on coaching. There's a lot of good resources out there. If you consider yourself a coaching manager, please invest in yourself. Invest some time, learn about really the essence of coaching, and practice with humility. I mean, I've been coaching and teaching coaching for well over a decade, and I never stop learning and finding opportunities to improve, let's say. So very good. Thank you for doing that for me, Mac, and doing those polls. It's great to hear from folks. Okay, let's go into a little bit about the coaching cycle. Just a little hint here. We want to set a goal, coach and support toward that goal, coach and support some more, coach and support some more, and then achieve and learn. So know that your coaching should really be ongoing and deliberate, right? We're going to coach a lot to help people learn what they need to learn and get where they need to get to achieve a goal, and that's okay. Okay. So let's see, where's my cursor? There we are. Okay, we're moving into number 4, and I feel like I'm going real fast here. I do hope, if I may encourage you to get that assessment. I'll bring up the link again in a couple minutes, only because the assessment will give you a little bit more of a deep dive and some more very specific advice around each of these areas. Process is something that's really important. Just like I know that if I want to get toned arms, which you'll notice I'm wearing a sweater because that hides my untoned arms, but I know if I want to get toned arms, it's not going to do me any good to just drop and do 100 push-ups once. I need to do push-ups every day, all the time. It's a habit that I need to form in order to get a goal down the road. And the same is true in our workplaces. If we want to have happy, high-performing teams, we need to do certain things repeatedly, and we need to know what those things are and how to do better. So let me show you another little grid. I loved grids. But in this one, we're comparing our ability to get results, okay, with our use of process. And this chart's going to show us the value of a disciplined process for sure. So let's say number 1, in number 1 quadrant, we get great results, but we don't know how we got there. Our success is not replicable, okay? That's number 1. I'm gonna ask you to go to the chat again in just a minute. That's number 1. Number 2, some organizations have lots of process, many procedures to follow, lots of rules, but very poor results. Often known as bureaucracy. We don't want to be these organizations, okay? So in one place we get great results. This is like kind of, I'll just say, sometimes a startup culture. Lots of results, lots of forward movement, but we don't yet have systems in place. Number 2, we've got so many systems that we're weighed down, lots of process, but very poor results. Number 3, I don't want anybody to be in this quadrant, but some of us are, and that's okay. We can get out of it. Poor process and poor results, but lots of activity. I call this the busy organization. Where we want to be, folks, is number 4. We want to have excellent process, which means right size. That gets us excellent results. And if we're there, we are a high-performing team. So get your hands back on the keyboard here and let me know. Just anonymously, I want you to give me a number. Where do you think your organization is right now? Are you 1, 2, 3, or 4? And Mac, maybe you could keep an eye on that and just tell me how it's turning out. What are we seeing over there between 1, 2, 3, or 4? Anything yet?
We're starting to come in.
Okay.
I've not seen a 4 yet.
Okay.
But I am seeing lots of 1s.
Okay, don't feel bad about not having 4. Okay, don't feel bad about that. It's hard to achieve that. That's why we're here. It takes a lot of focus, but you are seeing a lot of ones. Okay, good. Ones is good. Ones is good because you can start paying attention to process and you can really move right from 1 to 4 pretty quickly. Okay, so that's good. What else are we seeing, Mac?
Really mostly ones, no fours, and a smattering of twos.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so 2 is also, a place that, depending on your organization and your influence in your organization, is a good place to work because you can reduce process. You can take a scan and you can be like, which of these things do we not need? I will say that a lot of people had reason to do that when the pandemic hit. And that was actually very good. Like, that brought us some good value in the end. So that's important. So I want you to be thinking about process this way. I often consider process around meetings, and I think about how to create a good, strong meeting process, because the meeting is kind of the unit of team interaction. And I just say that, when you can improve your meeting process, you often immediately improve teamwork. So there's a lot of power in there. Unfortunately, in the last couple of years, I think this was last year, $37 billion was reported wasted in the US on unproductive meetings. We don't want to be part of that stat. But this won't surprise you. 100% of the 19 million people surveyed say that poorly organized meetings are a waste of time. So if we focus in on our meeting process, we can get a lot of goodness out of that unit of interaction. We can go like, what can we do in our meetings that can improve our process? Because a meeting is a process. And of course, we know that meeting frequency has increased quite a bit, 13% in 2020. And so it's a good place to put some effort, because if we're going to be doing meetings, let's do them right. Let's do them well. All right. Okay, we're going to go over to number 5 now, our final stop here today, and we're going to talk about results. Remember this from Pat Lencioni, we said that they have a foundation of trust, and in order to get real good results, you want to be a team that's very familiar with and has a habit of setting goals and achieving results against those goals. The planning part of this is essential. Setting the right goals at the right time of year, setting the right sort of duration of goals, and being able to revisit those goals is really important. With coaching is about really coaching supports and helps people setting goals, and then give support while people reach those goals. Okay, so that's really important. So goals are important for a lot of reasons. Goal setting literally restructures your brain to make it more effective. So when we focus our attention on something that we're trying to achieve, it actually affects us on a neuroplasticity level. So let's look at that. Basically, when you are challenged, you have specific and challenging goals, you're going to get higher performance, because people start to believe and feel like the barriers to achievement are lower when those goals are specific and challenging. So they're better than vague goals, or just like, hey, I just want you to do your best. Like to frame the goals and to think about what is the end result that we're trying to achieve here, and to make that very clear is kind of the secret about goals, along with making sure your goals are worthy goals. Okay, goal setting really does keep us engaged, because as I said, it literally changes the structure of your brain so that your brain is optimized to achieve the goal. When we're emotionally attached to those goals, when we're motivated, we evaluate obstacles as less challenging. That's important. And if your goals are ambitious, they're motivating, because different parts of your brain, the amygdala and the frontal lobe, are both fully activated at the same time. So there's some energy around it. And if we want a happy, high energy workplace, we know that we've got to get people purpose driven, moving forward, using a good process to achieve a strong goal. Okay. But as Stephen Covey says, and I love this, goals are pure fantasy unless you have a specific plan to achieve them, and we don't want to live in a fantasy world. So goal setting is great, but we want to make sure that we take the time to work the plan. So I always recommend that you bring your team together for goal setting and action planning, and that you translate any goal into first milestones and then deliverables, and then you drill down to tasks, which are like action items, and you transfer those tasks to your calendar. One of the things that I love to help people do right now in our virtual world is create shared action plans. And we can do this in many different ways. Some of you have project management software or team software that really helps. But this is just a picture of a Google Doc. And so at a minimum, Google gives us some free tools, and one of them is a Google Doc, and you can build quite a nice plan in there. So, you know, all this is you bring your team together and you talk about clarifying a goal and then drilling down to deliverables and having everybody get their hands in there and write up the activities and who's responsible and by what date. And when this is shared, when everyone has access to this, it creates higher degrees of accountability. So we want to set goals, we want them to be challenging, and we want to support them with action plans. All right, let's bring it all together. I want you to imagine that you've got a meeting on Monday, right? We said meeting was a good process. And in that meeting, you're going to set goals and map out the work plan for a new project. The meeting is purpose-driven, starts with the team developing a purpose and impact statement for the project. The meeting follows a powerful agenda. All parties are fully involved and included and have clear roles and contributions to make. So it's about me, I'm part of it, I have a purpose. This hits all of our, this is all 5 of our things, right? We're purpose-driven, we're communicating and setting a culture together, we're establishing ownership because we're bringing people into the plan, we're using a good process, and it's all about getting results. So all those things are present in this one meeting. And that's why I say meetings are a really good place to focus our effort. So I need to know, are you ready to take action? This is what I'd like to hear from you. What is inspiring to you about this? Where do you want to put your focus next? And as I encourage you to run over to the question bar or the chat bar and leave us some comments and ask questions, I want to also know what you are inspired to do as a result of today. I'd love to know, what action do you think you're going to take? Are you going to work on purpose? Are you going to work on communication? Do you think you'll work on ownership, process, or will you focus on results? That's some of the question I have for you. Remember, as I'm waiting for you to send me some questions or queue up some questions, don't forget to get your personalized leadership assessment and report and learn specifically where you should focus out of these 5 areas. And you can do that here at this link, clairelaughlinonline.com/assessyourteam. Once you have that free report, because it gives you so many more ideas. So I hope that that would be useful for you. In sum, remember, to help your team thrive, look at all 5 of these things. Find your why, focus on your purpose, really work on communication, create guidelines, know what you're working for, make sure your team owns some standards, ownership, coach people for accountability, coach them toward their goals. In terms of process, I want you to build some good habits, especially around meetings. And in terms of results, I want you to set and achieve meaningful goals. So there you have it, 5 dimensions, high performance leadership. I hope that was helpful for you. When you commit to leading a high performing team, it's a gift to all. The time and effort you invest will create energy and fulfillment, satisfaction, and much better outcomes. So I want you to start today. Let me know how I can help you. And I'm ready for some questions. I'm here for you if you have anything you'd like to ask.
Give them a second to get their fingers going.
Okay.
And everybody, put the assessment website in the chat area again, because a couple asked for it. So I should have just hit that again.
Thank you. Oh, it's so nice. I'm now able to pause for a minute and look at the chat, and I absolutely love it. Thank you so much, or the question bar, and see where this is. Okay, how do we get a copy of the materials? Okay.
So we're going to email everybody a copy of the the deck right after we get done today. So
Yeah. Okay, great. So I see Heather says, I need to coach others to take accountability and not hold their hand. Yeah, good. That's a great goal, Heather. Really worth doing for sure. Julie, want to be organized in my goals. I love that. Thank you. Okay. All right. I'm here for you. If there's anything more, by all means, let me know, reach out to me. And thank you so much for spending some time with me today.
thank you, guys.